What's up, guys? So, tragic update on my truck. As you can see by this, not a good diagnosis. 196,000 miles. Last week I was driving home, sitting in traffic not far from my house at some road construction. They had one lane open, and all of a sudden I get a high temp alert on my dash. I immediately pull over and shut the truck off. I pulled into the median, shut it off, let the truck cool for a while, and drove it straight to the dealer, which was only about a mile away from where I was at the time, and didn't overheat on the way to the dealer. Took it to the dealer. They said it was about a half a gallon low on coolant, and I was like, oh crap, no visible leaks anywhere, so where did the coolant go? Probably got burned off. They did a hydrocarbon test on it. The hydrocarbon test was positive for exhaust gases in the coolant. And yeah, so anyways, here I am, and trying something new. So ultimately, at the end of the day, if you've ever watched Car Care Nuts stuff, this does happen on these 5.7s, usually commonly on cylinder number 7. Like I said, this truck has 196,000 miles. I've owned this truck for 10 years. I bought it when it was almost new. It was a certified pre-owned truck. I bought it in 2015. It's a 2014. And I've driven it ever since. And I've done all the oil changes before me were done at Toyota. I've done all the oil changes, all the maintenance at Toyota. I did the first coolant flush on this it was around 100. I think it was like 95, 97, something like that. I did a coolant flush on it, which is kind of factory interval. And then it's got the super long life coolant. And then the coolant was done again around 170-ish. It might have been maybe a little under 170. Did the coolant flush again on it. And then this happened last week, and basically here I am trying this. We'll try this Blue Devil head gasket sealer. This is not the pour and go stuff. This is the regular stuff. I've already ordered a replacement engine for this truck. The dealer quoted me $17,000 parts and labor to tear this thing down and rebuild it. The parts include replacing a lot of stuff with new stuff, since that engine has basically 200,000 miles on it. They would replace a bunch of stuff in the heads, replace parts as they're putting it all back together with brand new stuff. 17 grand, that's a lot of money. And then they quoted me out on putting a remanufactured engine with a warranty from Jarco. Ironically, Jarco is local to me. I used to buy front clips and JDM engines from them 20 years ago. But now they've got a contract with Toyota. They do all the remanufactured engines for Toyota across the U.S. And their quote was 17 grand for the Jarco engine. $17,000 for that. So that was crazy. Called another local shop, and they quoted me, it was a Toyota Lexus kind of independent shop. They quoted me $11,000 for a teardown and rebuild. Another shop quoted me, this has got like grass in it. Another shop quoted me $14,000 for a teardown and rebuild. And then they quoted me $11,000 to swap a used motor with a warranty on it. I'm topping off water here. So the process to do this, I've been burping kind of air out of the system here. So, well, there we go. So the process for this Blue Devil stuff is cooling system must be clean and free flowing. You need to flush it out. Use Blue Devil radiator flush. I didn't use Blue Devil radiator flush, but I just used water. I flushed with water, flushed it really good. Remove the thermostat. This is the stock thermostat. Never been changed with 196,000 miles. No rust, no nothing, looks fantastic. I went and bought a thermostat from Advanced Auto Parts for 40 bucks, and I took the thermostat guts out of it and just replaced that there, so that once I'm done with this, I'll just put the stock thermostat back on. It looks in great shape. Flushed it out with a water hose, that's why I flushed it. I let water run through the engine, pour out the other side, disconnect the radiator, flush out the radiator, all that stuff. Filled it back up mostly with water, and then you're supposed to crank the truck, run it on high, run the heater on high without the thermostat so the water's flowing, and then slowly pour in this Blue Devil stuff. So I slowly poured it in over the course of a minute. Yeah, the engine has to be cold when you do this. This truck's been sitting out here since yesterday. And I basically poured all this in, and then you let this idle for like 50 minutes, for a long time. So you got to let it come up to operating temperature. Make sure it doesn't overheat here. We'll see what it does. I don't know what the temp level is. Actually, temp level looks great right now. It's still warming up. It's been running now for about 10 minutes. The heater's on high right now. I got the windows open. Heater's on high. And we're just gonna let this run. As you can see, I drained all the old coolant out. And we're just gonna let this run and let this idle. It's been burping some air out of the system, so I've been slowly kind of adding more water to it as it burps the air bubbles out, because I did introduce air into the system here. So I'm just kind of continuing to add some water to this. This, for those of you saying, oh, don't put regular tap water in it, this is all going to come out here like tomorrow. So this stuff's only going to be in the engine for a very short period of time. I'm going to drain all this back out, and we'll replace it with Toyota super long life coolant. And we'll see what it does. So like I said, it's worth a shot. This stuff, you know, you read some reviews on it. Some people are like, oh, blah, 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 this is the worst. Some people had great success with it. The alternative to this is I already have a new engine, or a used engine, on the way. So I found an engine on eBay from a seller in Mississippi, OK Auto Parts Sales out of Mississippi. They do a lot of volume business on eBay. Great reviews. They give fantastic write-ups on the engine. I found an engine out of a 2018 Tundra that had 76,000 miles, that was rear-ended and totaled. All the damage was in the rear of the car. They give you all the pictures. They gave me the VIN number of the truck. They give you the serial numbers of the engine. They give you all that stuff. So I looked up the VIN numbers. That particular truck and that engine had all been serviced at Toyota its entire life. All of its oil changes, everything done right on time, exactly when they're supposed to, at Toyota. And had no other... The only major issue that truck ever had was, according to service history, was the catalytic converters got stolen and they replaced them. But otherwise, the truck it came out of, 76,000 miles. So that engine is on its way. I ordered it yesterday. It was $5,500 with shipping, and it'll be here in probably a week or something. It's coming freight. So I'll have that engine ready. And worst case scenario, if this stuff doesn't work, I've got an engine on the way, and I'll just do an engine swap. And you're like, well, why don't you tear down and rebuild? You got to pull the engine out of this truck to do that anyways. There's just a pain in the ass to try to do it with the engine in the truck. You're going to pull the engine out anyways. You're going to be tearing everything apart, replacing all these components and everything with new stuff. It's just easier and cheaper actually just to replace it with a used engine. Like, and then some people are like, oh, why don't you trade it in? Because as you can see with the truck, there's nothing wrong with the truck. Other than that, this truck is a fantastic truck. I've owned this truck for 10 years. I didn't even have my first major problem with it until last year. I had to replace my brake master cylinder. I did a video about that. And then now, of course, the engine, which is pretty major. But otherwise, these trucks just don't have any other problems with them. So I just want to keep driving it. This truck has been paid off for years. Like I said, I've owned it for, I paid it off, I think 5 years ago. And it's a fantastic truck. And I just want to keep driving it. I love it, and I don't want one of the new Tundras. I don't want one of those engines. Those are bad news. They've having a lot of problems. The dealer techs at my Toyota dealer said, all of them said, do not buy one of the new Tundras. Stay away from it. One of the guys was like, I've replaced 12 engines just myself so far, and we're calling the new ones in to replace. And he said they've already had 2 engines come back blown up again. The new engine has come back blown up the same way that the old one blew up. So I'm staying away from those. I'm going to keep driving this truck for a long time. As you can see, it's in great shape. I've kept this truck in great shape. I've taken immaculate care of it. And if I got to swap the engine and keep on trucking, I will. So that's the story. Again, Blue Devil process, if you're watching it for this, read the instructions. Flush the system out, remove the thermostat. I didn't use the Blue Devil radiator flush, but I did flush it out really good with water. Fill it with water, leave enough room for the Blue Devil. Make sure the engine is cold. Pour slowly. If you're using a whole bottle on this, because this is a 3.5 gallon cooling system, you're going to use an entire bottle of this, depending on the size of the cooling system. And basically slowly pour it in over a minute, and then top it off with water, and then let it idle with the, I'm going to let, now that the air is burped out, I'm going to put the cap back on, and I'm going to let it idle for 50 minutes. So that's it, guys. Just gonna top it off with a little more water and put the radiator cap back on.